Hi, and welcome to Getting Down to Business, a public affairs show on economic development and business topics in Covington and Kenton County. I'm your host, Pat Frew, Executive Director of the Covington Business Council. And today joining me on the show is Joe Hoffecker. Joe is the Executive Director of the Metropolitan Club, Northern Kentucky's private business club located in the River Center Towers in Covington. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pat. It's great to be here.
Great. Well, first, let's get down to business. So we want to talk about your career. You started out at the Cincinnati Business Courier, and you were there for 3 decades.
Yes.
Talk about that switch from the Business Courier to the Metropolitan Club.
Well, when it was first announced, a lot of people gave me funny looks, like 30 years at a business publication and you're switching over to a private and social business club. But it really has been seamless, because what I was doing at the Business Courier was helping to grow their readership engagement, both in print and online, growing their events, and then also marketing the Business Courier. That's exactly what I'm doing at the Met Club, except instead of readers, it's members. But it really is the same audience, and it really is kind of the same purpose. You know, we want to connect business people. So from that standpoint, it's really been seamless. The only difference is we have a better view than the Business Courier.
Yeah, it is a magnificent view. If you've never been to the Metropolitan Club, it's really the best view of Cincinnati that's out there. Let's delve in a little further in my first point on the cultivation part. Readers versus activated members. What are some of the similarities and some of the differences that you've noted?
Well, I think the similarities are that people in business are always looking to expand their network, grow their network, meet other business people for business leads, business development, but also opportunities that their company may be able to give back. The Courier readership reads the Courier for that very reason, is to find out what's going on in the city, how can that help them grow their network and so forth. So at the Met Club, we pride ourselves on connecting the communities, right? So the whole mission of the club is to bring together community and business leaders in order to foster their personal and professional relationships, but also in the whole mission of giving back.
Right. And I imagine the cultivation time can be different in terms of readers to a business publication versus people joining a business organization.
Sure. For the Courier to cast its net wider and to capture the business community so that they know all about what the Business Courier could offer them, both in print, online, and digitally, and at the events, it's the same thing for us. You know, we need to cast our net wider. We have always been about connecting communities, so Northern Kentucky, Greater Cincinnati, from Latonia to Westchester. You know, we want to make those connections. So it's a matter of kind of the same processes and practices that I use at the Business Courier to get the word out, to be in places where I can talk about the club and the Courier. Just casting my net a little wider too, and getting out and meeting folks.
You made reference to the mission of the Met Club earlier. Why don't you talk about what that is, Joe?
Sure. Well, that was one of the things that really pulled me away from the Courier and wanting to join the Met Club. A few things that I didn't know about the club was, since its founding in 1991, it has always been a club that's been open to everyone, so inclusive and diverse. So I love that aspect of it, and that's something that I think we can really build on. Also, since 1991, the club has always shared 70% of its bottom line profits with local nonprofits. So club membership and club usage goes back into helping the community, and again, that's all about that bridging the communities. The Roebling Bridge is in our logo. So it's about fostering those relationships between business leaders and community leaders.
And how did the Met Club start?
Well, I think it was Bill Butler with Corporex and Dan Fay from Commonwealth Hotels. So those are the two still minority owners at 15%, and then that 70% is owned by the local nonprofits. So a really interesting model, but again, one that was so interesting, and I love Greater Cincinnati. I love to see this community thrive. So a club that gives back like that was for me.
Yeah. Tell us about the profile of the members at the club. Since the Metropolitan Club is Northern Kentucky's only private business club, one would assume that the majority of the members are Northern Kentucky residents.
That is a great question and a common assumption. Even I thought that, but as I dug into more information about the Met Club, it's really split 50-50. And so I think that lends itself to the idea that the Met Club is doing its job of connecting communities, and it's not all northern Kentucky or all one side of the river. And so shrinking that river has really been a goal for the club, and I think it's working. So the profile is really pretty diverse on both sides. Membership ranges from sole proprietors up to the big Fortune 500 companies. So lots of opportunities for everyone.
And there are a number of people that have corporate memberships. So while it's in the name of individuals, it's kind of under that corporate entity. You might talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Too.
We like to create classifications that help people just make it easier to come and go. We'd rather you come and stay.
Right.
But for folks inside your company that might not feel like it's a welcoming place, it sure is. And so those corporate memberships, those nonprofit memberships, open it up for more people within the organization to use the club and meet people and visit our programs and so forth.
Yeah, in full disclosure, I'm very heavily involved in the Metropolitan Club. I'm on the board. I chair the membership and marketing committees. And so we talk all the time that it is a great place to do business. It's a great place for folks from the Cincinnati side of the river to come into northern Kentucky to be there, but yet to see Cincinnati. So I think it really does kind of help narrow that divide on the river that we sometimes feel exists.
Absolutely, and Pat's absolutely right. He's been a great ambassador to the club, and a lot of people think he's on our payroll. He's not, but maybe he should be.
I'm on other payrolls, but no.
But I think you're right. And I think a lot of our members do international business. So when they bring people into the city to show the city, what a great place to showcase from the 19th floor of the tallest building in Covington with a 360-degree view of the region. You really get a sense of what Cincinnati is all about when you're there.
Right. One of the tactics that I use to grow membership in the Covington Business Council is to try to position myself as saying, okay, if you want to do business in northern Kentucky, whether you reside on the southern side of the river or the northern side of the river, you need to be involved in the CBC, the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, and the Metropolitan Club. And those, I think, are really three organizations that really make you ingrained in the community no matter where you reside in the region. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And also there's not too much overlap between the three organizations, which is really surprising to me. So you really get a diverse industry makeup, a diverse in culture and people. So I think that's what I love about that trifecta. And I think if you belong to all three, on either side of the river, whichever side you're on, that's a winning combination for sure.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about just what a great environment it is for business. We haven't talked about the food yet, which we have to talk about that.
Right.
We have a lot of longevity in terms of our chef, our pastry chef. Talk about that and some of the advantages of the club and just how that's really helped the club to thrive in its past 25 to 30 years.
Well, I would say next to the view, the food is the thing that draws people in for sure. Food and drink is always available. Chef Kelsey has been there since the start. Pastry chef Terry Beal has been there for a long, long time. That's the other thing that is very surprising to me when I got to the Metropolitan Club is the longevity of people that have been there for. I mean, that just says a lot when nobody leaves, right? And so I think they continue to evolve with trends and things that happen in the culinary world. Every season there's a new menu. So people look forward to tasting those new offerings each time the seasons roll around. And for folks that are catering, we can customize food and pastry to your needs as well.
Right. One of the little-known tidbits about the club is Terry, the pastry chef, and some of the creations she's made for birthdays and different things like that. And she utilizes a lot of things like 3D technology to create a lot of great things. Can you mention a couple of the things that she's created?
We're doing a great partnership with Cincinnati Magazine. Their Cincinnati Gives program. It's a contest for nonprofits to compete to raise the most money in a period of time. And then Cincinnati Magazine is going to give some prizes away, some cash prizes to those nonprofits. So great event. So they had a kickoff event, two kickoff events at the Met Club, and she surprised them with the logo. And it was actually in a 3D. It looked like it was coming off the cookies. So it was really just a very creative, and those are things that she just does without She just has this sense of this would be really cool, so I'm going to go ahead and do this.
Yeah.
Forward thinking.
Yeah. And you talked about the philanthropic purpose of the club. That's something that resonates with a lot of people, and why they might join the Metropolitan Club versus some of the other private business clubs in Cincinnati. Can you comment on that too?
Sure. So as I mentioned, since the beginning, the Metropolitan Club has shared 70% of its bottom line profits with local nonprofits. Currently, it's Life Learning Center in Covington, which helps reintroduce folks that have a record back into society. Upspring, which helps homeless children, and then Be Concerned in Covington, which is a food pantry. So the nonprofits have changed through the years, but it's really a board decision on who those are. So that's one aspect of it. But we also have a lot of nonprofit organizations that are members. So there's a special membership that's for nonprofits that's very, very affordable. And also, depending on your spend, a nonprofit spend during the course of the year at the club, you actually could earn some money back as a donation at the end of the year. So very philanthropic in our aspects.
Yeah, and for some people, I know that's the reason they belong to the club. It's not the food, it's not the business connections they make there. It's a way for them to feel like they're giving back, which is uniquely a Cincinnati regional asset, I think.
Yes, and there's no other club like this.
Great,
Yes.
great. Well, it's time for us to take a short break. We've got more exciting stuff to talk about in a minute, but you're watching Getting Down to Business, and we'll be right back.
Oh, look, a redhead.
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
And we're back with Getting Down to Business with our guest today, Joe Hoffecker of the Metropolitan Club. And Joe, how is the Metropolitan Club different from other private clubs in the region?
Well, number one, I would say that philanthropic aspect of it, the fact that we give so much back into the community. I don't know of any other club that does that. But anecdotally, what I hear from our members who might be members at other clubs is that it's a very welcoming club. So new members that have been there for a while, no matter who walks in the door, there's always this welcoming aspect to the club. We have a member breakfast at Monday through Friday, and you can just walk into the room and you know you're going to meet somebody or see somebody that you know. And that's kind of the aspect of it that I think is very different, is that everybody makes other members feel very welcome.
Yeah, and I've been a member of the club for a little over 5 years, and one of our other major programs, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we had our big Metropolitan Award a number of weeks ago, but my wife was there, and there were a lot of visitors to the club that night for our honoree, and you know they tended to stay together in groups of people and talk to one another, but my wife noticed that the people that talked to her the most were our members. So that was an affirmation that our members are very friendly and outgoing to all kinds of people they know or they don't know. So
Absolutely.
I really do think there is a strong sense of community there.
I'm glad to hear that. And you know, myself and Susan Luke, who's our member relations director, it's our jobs to welcome folks, but we have so many volunteers, members who volunteer to engage with new members, kind of a big brother, big sister program, unofficially, you know, that help people get indoctrinated into the clubs and our programs. And so that's just, that's something we don't really ask them to do, but they do it anyway. And I think that says a lot.
Yeah. We talked about the mission, but we also have at the club the things we call the pillars. I always remember this because I think of CBC, but it's BCB. Yeah. Business matters, community matters, and belonging matters. Talk about that and how that's embodied in the programs and activities and everything that goes on at the Metropolitan Club?
That's a good question. So we're actually restructuring internally our organizational chart. It's more of a Venn diagram, so it has those three circles of business matters, community matters, and belonging matters. And so how does all the programming that we do and initiatives that the club is involved with, how do they fit into those, or where should they fit into that diagram? So taking a look at that, but business matters because this is a place where you can do business, you can conduct business meetings, or you can meet people. So it's well known for that. The community aspect, I think, really kind of touches on the nonprofit world because it's so community driven, giving back so much to the community and welcoming nonprofits to join the club as well and making it affordable to do that. And then belonging. We just touched on how welcoming it is at the club. So everybody should feel like it's a place that they can belong to, as an office away from an office, a home away from home.
Yeah. And we've talked about the club several years ago. Celebrated its 25th anniversary, so it's on its way to 30 years. And when you've been around that long, you know that kind of connotes that you've had a generation go through the club. Many of the people in their 30s when they joined are now near retirement. And so you need to attract that next generation of leaders. Talk about how the Metropolitan Club does that with young professionals and people in kind of that younger age demographic.
Well, it's been very intentional. This coming year will be the third year that we've had the Roebling Society class. So it's a committee that is formed at the Metropolitan Club that identifies our region's up-and-coming leaders under or around the age of 40. So inviting them to join, and we've had 70 new members just come through those two classes in the last 2 years. But besides that, you don't have to be invited as a Roebling Society member. If you're under the age of 40, we have a junior membership, which is very affordable. And let me tell you, these folks are very active in the club. The young professionals get involved. They create programming, which is very vibrant. They've got a lot of fresh, new, and creative ideas. But the one thing I think that attracts them to the club more than anything is our mentoring program. The 360 mentoring program is very structured. So it's an application process where folks can sign up to be a mentor or a mentee. Some do both, which is really interesting. And then a committee will match up folks that they think should pair together. And then it's really up to them to meet and carry on. But that is an initiative that has really attracted a lot of young folks to join the club. And also our legacy members really enjoy that because they tell us that they learn as much from the young folks as they're learning from the experienced folks in the room. So
how many people have we had through the mentoring program? We're now in our third year. It's been 75 to 100 probably that have gone
average,
through that.
Yeah.
And as you said, some of the more senior members, the mentors have felt like they've almost been like the mentees, that they've learned as much as they've received as much as they've given to the younger people.
Exactly, and that's a very structured program, but just kind of off the cuff, if you want to meet somebody at the club, we can help facilitate that.
Right.
So there's constant connections happening, and we like to encourage that throughout the year.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the other additional activities and programs offered by the club.
Sure. Well, we have a Women of the Met, so we have a lot of ladies that get together and have meetings once a month and put on some programmings. An offshoot of that is the Business Women of the Met, so that's a speaker series where we invite business leaders in the community to speak and kind of share their knowledge. Book club, we have all the things that are associated with food. The Frew Society is a 4-course dinner with wine pairings. We have the Bourbon Society. We've got craft beer dinners. All the usual suspects are there as well. The young professionals have created the Legends of the Met. So that's where a longtime member of the Met will sit around the boardroom and discuss their career and answer questions. And it's kind of a mentoring for all type of program. And then the Courage to Fail is usually an outside speaker, but we've had several people that have spoken for that have talked about the pitfalls that they've experienced in their careers, how they got over them, and how their career then took off after that.
The Metropolitan Club has also served as a venue for many other groups, kind of outside of the confines of the actual programming of the club, with different politicians and different issues. And we have a number of private rooms at the club where some of the people that are most formative in our community were interviewed for jobs there, all kinds of things. So there are a lot of things even outside the confines of the regular programming that happen at a place like the Metropolitan Club,
right.
which make it so special.
Absolutely. We've got rooms that go from a meeting of 2 to 250. So, and the chambers have used us. A lot of associations use our space, and you don't have to be a member to rent the space. We would love for you to join. It's free for our members to use the spaces, but we are open for everyone. And weddings and parties and celebrations and retirements and birthday parties, those are all part of the club as well.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the process of becoming a member. Is it an arduous process, or?
It's not. All they need to do is...
They let me in, Joe, so we know it's not too arduous. Though.
And we haven't asked you to leave,
Yeah,
that's for
not
sure.
yet.
It's not arduous. They just need to contact me. I would love to invite you to join me over breakfast or lunch to talk about the opportunities that the club might have for business people and folks that are up and coming leaders in the community to join the club and see what it's all about.
Yeah, and typically somebody sponsors a member, but that's not at all a difficult process.
I mean, we love it when our members say, hey, can so-and-so come through the door? And we always say yes. So whether it's through a member or it's through the club itself, everyone is welcome.
It seems like at times in society today we're not necessarily a group of joiners like we used to be. Is that something where you find difficulty sometimes where people, they kind of like what they see, but people are a little reticent to commit to things or to be members?
Well, I think it might be intimidating to some. It might be just a lack of knowledge what all the club can do.
Right.
So that's why we really want to have, we do offer the 30-day trials, which give folks a great opportunity for 1 month to experience everything that we have to offer. But we want to make sure that it's right for them. So in the process of saying, hey, I'm interested in finding out more, then we ask, well, what do you want to get out of this after the 30 days? And whatever that is, I want to meet more people, or I want to learn about your programming, or this is professional development for me. We can steer them into all the things that the club has to offer in order to make sure that they get the most out of those 30 days. And then really it's kind of a no-brainer after that. So the 30 days is free. We don't ask for any spend during that time. Just come and get to know us.
In the couple minutes we have left here, Joe, talk about any future goals that the Metropolitan Club has.
Well, I think telling that story of the nonprofit and the charitable mission of the club has not been told, at least very well. So getting out and talking to folks about that, and it's really an eyebrow-raising conversation that I see on people when you tell that story. Even for folks that are fairly familiar with the Met Club, they don't know that we really are, the mission is to connect people and to give back. So my goal for 2020 is to just be out there in the community more, and these things like this. Thank you for having me here, tell the story a lot more, but also just getting the name out and becoming a little bit more of a household name. I think it would be good.
Yeah, and so this, I guess, and anything else you wanted to cover in wrapping up here? Or?
Go to our website, metropolitanclub.net. It's going to be revamped here pretty soon, but there's information out there. There's also an opportunity to sign up for the 30-day trial membership, so and feel free to contact me anytime.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Pat. I appreciate it.
So that's all the time that we have today. My guest on Getting Down to Business has been Joe Hoffecker of the Metropolitan Club. And we also want to thank TBNK for partnering with the Covington Business Council in producing this program. Also, don't forget to check out some of the upcoming events on the CBC website. That's www.cbcky.com. My name is Pat Frew. I'm the Executive Director of the Covington Business Council, and I'm also the host of Getting Down to Business. Thank you for joining us.